With a big double game week coming up in game week 25, you might be tempted to play your free hit. If you are, I've got a draft for you. All right, we're going to start off then by talking about the goalkeeper and the defenders. And I've gone a little bit different to other free hit drafts that I've seen this week. I've gone for double Arsenal defence and Ederson in goal. I've seen a lot of free hit teams with the likes of Kyle Walker or Ruben Diaz in, but I personally don't back really any of the Man City players to solidly play both games of the double, outside of probably Ederson, Rodri and Haaland. So for that reason, I've gone for Ederson in goal. Doty as my defender. I'm not really expecting, not expecting a clean sheet from Doty to be honest, but he has been so attacking this season. In Game Week 24, he created the most chances of any Premier League player in a single game. He created 9 chances. So I do think he could get 1 or 2 attacking returns in Game Week 25. And to be honest, you've got to be content with that, I think, for 4.6 million. And then my other 2 defenders, I've gone for Saliba and Gabriel. Looking at the Arsenal defence, I think they're really strong defensively and they're also really good from set pieces. I'm pretty sure I heard on the radio at the weekend that Arsenal have scored 15 goals from set pieces so far this season. And I think the fact that Saliba and Gabriel are nailed on to play and they've got a really good fixture, they're probably better than some of the Man City defenders. You know, some of those most of the Man City defenders who probably only back to start 1 game of the double, and they have been conceding the odd goal. And when we look at the clean sheet odds, Arsenal are 50% to keep a clean sheet against Burnley, right? I'm happy to back those odds against, other double teams. Luton 18 and 8 and Brentford, I mean, yeah, their odds are pretty terrible as well, 13 and 8. So with all that considered, I think Saliba and Gabriel, if you can get them and fancy the risk of going against double game week players, I think going for them could pay off. Onto the midfield then, I've gone for Foden, Diogo Jota, Saka and Luis Diaz. I haven't got Kevin De Bruyne in this team. Now, I know it's a little bit of a risk going without him, but I think I prefer the surety of Ederson starts to cover in goal. And then I think Saka's going to have a really nice game week against Burnley. Luis Diaz, Diogo Jota and Foden, I back to probably all get better minutes in game week 25 than Kevin De Bruyne. And yes, I don't know, I'm trying not to be too negative about him. Kevin De Bruyne is obviously probably the best player in the Premier League, right? But from an FPL perspective, I think his returns are very much going to be weighted more towards assists. And I think with the hamstring injury he had, it reoccurred this season as well. I think his minutes are really going to be managed by Pep Guardiola. Don't get me wrong, I think he's going to do fine for attacking returns from an assist perspective. But I think when you're free hitting and looking to absolutely maximise the points you can get out of a game week, I think you can look elsewhere, purely because, personally, I think Foden is more weighted towards goals and I think he probably plays more minutes. Likewise, Jota and probably Diaz as well. I say all 3 of those players are more likely to score a goal and Kevin De Bruyne is more likely to score an assist. And as we all know in FPL, points are more weighted towards goals than assists. And then Saka, again, I really back Arsenal in their fixture against Burnley. I think it's a plum fixture for them. Burnley, yeah, they're not looking great at the moment. I think Arsenal can do well in that one, and particularly Saka. And with Saka, you just know he's definitely going to play pretty much 90 minutes, and he takes the penalties, right? So, yeah, I think this midfield 4 is the way to go. And just a bit more info about the couple of the players I've gone for in midfield. I think Phil Foden is probably the best Man City midfielder, bar Rodri, for minutes, and I think he's probably going to come out with the most points throughout double game week 25. Like I said, I think Rodri's the best for minutes, but he's not really explosive enough. He's a decent option, but with the money you have available for a free hit and the players you can pick, you may as well go for Foden. He's in great form, 8 returns in his last 7 games. I mean, I really do think Man City have hit their kind of title-winning form. He's got good, as we know, 2 good fixtures in double game week 25, right? And he's probably the best Man City midfielder in the game right now, I would say, for minutes and expected points combined, right? The one thing we have to be sure of, though, is that there's going to be some pet roulette. So Foden might not start both games in game week 25. I can't say with any level of surety that he will. And yeah, he could well get benched for one of the games, but I do expect him to get good minutes throughout both of the fixtures. And I think if he does, he's going to do well. The next player I wanted to talk about is Diogo Jota. I mean, the numbers that he is putting up at the moment are fantastic for the number of minutes that he's played. He's an absolutely lethal finisher. He's outperformed, as you can see there, 9 goals from 4.1 XG. He's massively outperformed his underlying numbers, but that seems to be a trend across his entire career because he is just such an elite finisher. I think he could feasibly start both games of the double, but him starting really depends on the fitness of Mo Salah. I think Salah will directly come in to replace Diogo Jota on the right. So yeah, we need to keep a tabs on basically how Mo Salah's getting on. In my opinion, I think most likely scenario is that Salah, he comes off the bench for the second game of double game week 25. I don't think he's going to be fit for the weekend fixture, and I don't think he's going to be rushed back in for the midweek fixture. And then I think he's going to start the cup final after getting minutes in the second fixture of game week 25. So all that combined, I think Diogo Jota probably plays both games of the double game week. Now, obviously, we can't guarantee that, right? There's absolutely no way I can. So there's always going to be a question mark around his minutes, but I think they're going to be solid enough for you to pick him. All right, on to the forwards then, and Erling Haaland first up. Obviously, if you're free hitting, you can't use your triple captainship on him, but you can use a captaincy, right? And I think if you're of the decision to play your free hit, I do think the free hit chip should be more points bearing for you than the triple captaincy. So I wouldn't worry too much if you can't use the triple captaincy chip on Erling Haaland. But I mean, it obviously makes sense to me and probably should make sense to you. If you're on your free hit, you should definitely be having Erling Haaland. The next striker I wanted to talk about is Ivan Toney. I think he's one of the best forwards in the league. You know, just as a striker in general, he's probably England's second best striker. Ollie Watkins and Toney are probably, you know, neck and neck for that spot in my opinion. He's obviously just nailed to start for Brentford. On the penalties, takes the free kicks with no Mbumo in the squad. Obviously has a double in 25. Doesn't really matter when he blanks if you're using your free hit. The one point I would make for double game week 25 is that he seems to be relatively fixture proof, right? And the teams he's got, Man City and Liverpool, yes, they might be two of the best teams in the league, but they do ship goals. And Toney has a great record, and Brentford in particular show up in the big games against the big teams. I'm pretty sure Toney scored a brace at the Etihad last season. So with all that things, you know, all those things considered, I think he's a great option. And you look at his stats this season and last, I mean, he scored 20 goals playing for Brentford last season. He's got 4 attacking returns in 4 starts so far for them as well. He's got 2 fixtures in game week 25. Who knows what he can produce? I think it makes sense to go for Darwin Núñez if you're on a free hit as well. We all know he's putting up some really good underlying numbers, but in general, when you look, when you look at his goals and assists compared to the starts he's made, he's getting a lot of abuse and stick on social media for missing chances, etc. We all know he misses chances, but 8 goals and 9 assists from 15 starts. I mean, the guy's still having, in my opinion, a fantastic season, and I think it's only a matter of time before he gets a couple of games where he absolutely explodes. With the number of chances he gets, I mean, pretty much every game he plays, he could score at least a brace or a hat-trick the way I'm seeing it, and that could well happen in game week 25. And I think particularly if you're on your free hit, you don't have to worry about Liverpool's blank in game week 26. He's a really nice option, and he shares the same curse, I guess, that all the other Liverpool attackers do, right? The question, does he start both of the games? And I think he probably does. He's just so dangerous, and you can tell that Klopp really likes him. And Liverpool, they don't really have a proper centre forward outside of him. So for that reason, I think he's probably going to get a few more minutes than Jota, even in my opinion. But yeah, he's a fantastic option, and you should definitely go for him if you're on your free hit. All right, just to summarise the team as a whole then. As I said, I haven't gone for any Man City defenders because I'm not sure there's one that I can back to start both of the games. And for a defender, in order to keep a clean sheet, realistically, your player needs to start the game. So I just don't think it's worth going for a Man City defender, basically, based on that. I've gone for Ederson to cover instead. I think he's gonna do just fine. Doty, I mean, I think makes sense with the attack and return potential he has. And then Saliba and Gabriel are probably my controversial picks. But I think, a double up of them against Burnley where they should keep a clean sheet. And even if they don't, they're probably as likely to get attacking returns as Doty is based on how good Arsenal are from set pieces at the moment. Foden, Jota, Saka and Luis Diaz in midfield. Obviously, I'm missing Kevin De Bruyne there. If you really fancy getting Kevin De Bruyne, then go for it. I just think the guys I've picked are probably more likely to score goals. And with Ederson, you get a guarantee of 2 starts and potentially clean sheets, right? Haaland is captain, it totally makes sense to do that. Tony, you're just guaranteed to play both of the games. And Darwin Núñez, I think, has the opportunity to be really explosive. Bell, Barkley, and Reguilon on the bench. If you want to, like I said, if you want to get Kevin De Bruyne, you can drop Barkley to someone even cheaper, like someone like Chukwuemeka. I think he's 4.2, 4.3 million. And that should allow you to get Kevin De Bruyne in quite easily. And maybe you could go for Kaminsky in goal, right, if you believe in that. But for me, this is the way I prefer to line up. And what I thought I'd do just to round off the video is just talk about my top players from the teams with a double game week. Because ultimately, if you disagree with this free hit draft that I've made, I might still be able to give you some advice on players to pick right. From Liverpool, I think personally there are only 2 players that I would absolutely bank on picking. I know I went for Luis Diaz, and he's a good option. I think he'll play sort of equal minutes to Jota and Darwin, but he just seems to be amongst the attacking returns a little bit less. Jota and Darwin seem to be the couple of real talisman goal scorers for Liverpool at the moment. Trent, I mean, he's orange for me because, wow, he's got that injury and who knows if he's going to play. Virgil van Dijk, I think, will definitely start both games as the double, but realistically, I'm not seeing a lot of greatness from Liverpool defence right now. And he's not really going to get any attacking returns. So if you go for Virgil van Dijk, you're probably banking on a couple of, well, getting clean sheets basically, because the attacking returns, they're probably not as likely as other players. So yeah, just for that reason, I don't think you can. Salah, I mean, I don't know if he's going to be fit for any of the fixtures in Game Week 25 yet. I think he gets some minutes. I probably don't even think he starts. Alisson, he's decent, but well, he is the best keeper in the world, right? And if he starts, he'll probably play both games. But he obviously had the flu in Game Week 24 and missed out. Robertson, I think, could be a good option. But he's had a long-term injury, and I do think his minutes could be managed as well. Particularly with Conor Bradley coming back. He could fill Trent's role, and Joe Gomez could play at left-back. For Man City, I'll put Kevin De Bruyne in green, but haven't actually gone for him in this free hit draft. I do think he's a great option, don't get me wrong, so that's why I put him there. I think he's very much pickable. Haaland and Foden, I mean, I've picked both of them. Alvarez, I think, is a good option, but with Haaland back in the team, I'm just doubtful of his minutes. Same with Kyle Walker. I don't think he's going to start both the games. Edison, I've picked him. I think he starts both of the games, but it's clean sheet or bust, really, with Edison. You know, if he doesn't keep the clean sheet, he rarely gets saves bonus. Rodri, he's going to play both the games. I think you can pretty much guarantee that. But he's just not as explosive as the other Man City mids, right? Although he isn't too bad for goals. I mean, you could do a lot worse than him for double game week 25. Luton, I've gone through all the Luton players. I don't mind Doty, Barkley, Bell, Kaminsky, Adebayo. But I think the strongest Luton player is Morris. It's just unfortunate that, in my opinion, there are 3 other forwards that are better than him for game week 25. And then when you look at Brentford, I think Tony, realistically, is the only real pickable and startable one. Yes, I've put there 5 other Brentford options you could go for. Most of them being defenders. I don't think you can pick Neil Maupay over Tony, for example, either. I just don't see Brentford getting a clean sheet at all. So for that reason, I'd be a little bit put off going for their defenders. But yeah, if you disagree with some of the picks in my free hit draft, I think these are the top targets from each of the teams. Orange, sort of on the fence for. Green, I think you should definitely be looking at buying. Alright, and that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave me a like rating. Let me know in the comments if you'd make any changes to that free hit draft, and if you are actually playing your free hit this week. As I said, if you enjoyed the video, please leave me a like rating. You can subscribe to the Golden Goal channel just there if you want to see more videos from me, and I will catch you in my next one.